In 1976, a hard rock band emerged in England with members who had been making rumbles before and would continue to make them afterwards. The band in question is Bandit, and from their self titled debut album, the track Dance When You Boogie. Hear that phased guitar. That jet engine sound. And that hi-hat. That real raspy voice you're hearing, that is Scottish vocalist Jim Diamond. God, hear that rasp, hear that kind of slight. Oh, he's just brimming to like belt out. Yeah, he would go on to great success during the 1980s. He has quite range too. I mean, who would have thought that the guy who 5 years later would have a big hit with, as part of PhD, I Won't Let You Down, would also like go into this territory, this kind of like kind of like Jess Roden type, or Frankie Miller. Okay, he's a bit more. He's considered. There's considerable more venom in his voice than the average belter. I love the way they're. It's just basically two chords. It's just G and C bar chords. But I love the way that they're transitioning between them. Those da na 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 na. Yeah, those like chromatic, lines. Da na 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 na. And then of course the engine, swirl. Really just restrained, fine, precise guitar solo. And the drumming really busy too, really playing in his main roles as space and bars will allow. No, actually, he kind of reminds me of Michael Des Barres, Jim Diamond, right here. Yeah, the hard rock numbers on the two Bandit album, on the two Detective albums, would be a point of reference here. Those which came out the following year. Yeah, I did a video on Detective a couple of months ago, except I did one of the ballads on the album. God, all that acid and fire in his voice. Roger Chapman's Streetwalkers would be another reference. Notice how funky this track is. It's like hard and it's like balls to the wall, and yet it's also got that real funk. It's like that golden period where the influences of hard rock and funk were colliding, and the two are just natural, allies, just waiting to be combined. I mean, because you could say like funk, like the U.S. funk scene was kind of like the African American equivalent of the hard rock, particularly like the UK hard rock, because they both like funk emerged as kind of like a heavier, grittier, more kind of like extreme, kind of almost like testosterone laden outgrowth of 60s R&B, And likewise, hard rock was basically a more kind of aggressive, um, you know, testosterone fueled outgrowth of 60s beat. That's when you move it. That's when you move it. Yeah, like Ian Gillan band were also delving in, like Ian Gillan, you know, was delving into funk around this time. A lot of it was only, and that is, I swear, I almost think that today's kind of younger hard rock listeners almost need to be kind of have their kind of ears reacclimated to the funk elements in hard rock from this period. Just hear all that busy, hear all that detail, hear all that musicianship, hear the drumming being really hyperactive, just giving it all he has, you know, the guitarist, you know, doing those scales, and the rhythm also having this like kind of funky quality to it. Yeah, just saying like a whole like blazing trail. Oh, listen to his voice now. It's just gotten so acidic, so kind of, and the guitar parts are getting a little bit more kind of tighter, like ding 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 ding, more staccato, as they do those pivots. There's so much like there's a lot of aggression to this, and yet there's so much control and like separation and of instruments, of tones, of like 15 years later, people would simply approach hard rock albums as just lay down a thick guitar soup and just I mean this just has so much like sonic separation and detail to it. You almost wonder if oh god, if this scene could have just continued for a few more years, imagine how it could have developed. Meaning if the new wave had not happened. Really belting it there. Yeah, Jim Diamond and Bandit there with Dance When You Boogie, kind of sweaty, aggressive, feverish number off the self-titled Bandit album from 1976. Let's see, what had Jim Diamond done before this album? I'll get back to that in a minute. Let's hear another track from the album, Hung Up on Your Love. I told you the drummer just really knows how to lay those rolls out. Really laying out a pattern, really setting the bar quite high for the other instrumentalists. Well, the bassist is Bravient. He's stepping on. I hear that ringing guitar tone just kind of echoing and putting so much fullness forward. Ah, hear that funkiness. The drummer on this album is Graham Broad, who, let's see, at age 15, Graham Broad gained experience as a session drummer for The Temptations, The Drifters, and Ben E. King, and later played on recordings by the Buggles, the Nolans, Dollar, and is part of Paris. Huh, a different. Oh yeah, that Paris. Oh, I know that one. Yeah, not the same as not Bob Welch's Paris. Yeah. And earlier in the well,
Don't tell me no lie. All I want your loving, not your words lie. 'Cause I'm hung up on you.
oh, here I love the way he just kind of like wails there, and as the chord changes, it slips down into that F, and that sliding like hi hat rhythm comes out.
Hung up on you.
Ah, I hear those like funky guitars, those clipped staccato, like scratching chordal.
Sail over me. Want to settle down.
Kind of like the little triads, I think.
Have a house with a family. Asking the world around.
I'm hearing two guitars here. Let's see, Danny McIntosh and James Litherland.
I got something on there. Called loving and respect. Yeah, if you don't give it to me, baby. No.
Danny McIntosh, even though he was a relative newcomer here, yeah, pretty young guy, I guess. He would marry Kate Bush, and in the 1980s play on recordings by the band Quick, yeah, a good Brit funk band, and he was on Dollar's 1982 album. At least, so that makes at least two Dollar connections between this and Dollar. Maybe it's the Trevor Horn connection.
Else will do the trick. 'Cause I'm hung up on you.
Yeah, hear that those guitar bits right there. That
Hung up on you.
I love that chord. I love how they threw in that different key. G minor. Now we're hearing some different keys than we had heard before. Oh, that oozing lead guitar. That. Yeah, here one's doing like funky rhythm and guitar, and then the other's doing those like oozing leads. The bass is really fueling this song too. If you pay close attention, it's accenting some choice notes. Oh, now here the drummer's has upped his pace and. You know, in the previous times I've had this album for like 20 years, I haven't really listened this close to some of these passages, and I am just floored almost by just how well these musicians for a for an English band have the funk like interplay down. I mean. the way that the drummer keeps just putting out all those like fills and rolls, and then those complex, like syncopated patterns, and then the guitarist just keeps on like searing and snaking right through, scaling about. I'm wondering, did these guys just really practice, and practice this to the point where they just nailed something really complex, or do they to some degree just have kind of like this synchronicity with one another, where because like the best American funk bands, they would be playing together. Oftentimes, they'd be playing together for many years, and each musician in the band would have a sixth sense of where each of like the other 8 or 7 or 8 members were going at any given moment. It's like and just intuitively knew where to fit their part into this real complex type groove where each little bit kind of added to this really complex whole. And it's not like these guys have been playing, together for like 5 or 10 years before recording this, no, because that wasn't very common in the UK. Kind of a muted section. He really knows how to hold notes. It's really it's climbing out of a pit. Oh, now it's really breaking back out. Hear those more like distorted riffs we're getting now. It almost seems like they're kind of like borderline improvising at this point over just kind of a pre-formed rhythmic pattern. This song has just the right balance between like a funky jam, a funky rhythmic jam pattern, and a melodic chorus. Yeah, it's just it has like rhythmic elements, like borderline improvisational, or the backbone for it anyway, and with just enough like melody, chordal angularity in just the right places. God, he has just one of the most extreme voices, it seems like, in this like belter, like this blue-eyed soul type English vein. Yeah, it's definitely like a more extreme voice than, say, Frankie Miller, and yet it's admittedly more attractive than Chapo. Yeah, kind of. I'm thinking kind of like a more like Rod Stewart or Frankie Miller, only more extreme, more acidic. Yeah, once again, Michael Des Barres is probably the closest comparison I can think of. Let's see. Of the other members, let's see. James Litherland, one of the guitarists, who also sings backing vocals and does harmonica on the album, had been in Colosseum and was on the 1971 Mogul Thrash album. And bassist Cliff Williams had been in Home. Yeah, really good English rustic rock band. And making those two perhaps the most uh, making those two perhaps the most accomplished before this album came out. Of course, Jim Diamond would go on to big things after this, and as well as Danny McIntosh and Graham Bode, who was quite the drummer. He, I guess, would go into more industry stuff and kind of behind the scenes gigs. Hmm. Anyway, yes, Bandit. Two great songs from their 1976 self titled album, Hung Up on Your Love and Dance When You Boogie, and would pretty much be their only album, although the nameplate yielded one further album 2 years later only. I guess only Danny McIntosh remained from this lineup of the band. Yeah. For more Rubies and Sapphires from the two Bandit albums, see the directory of albums by English B artists linked in the description below. For Red Hot tracks and purples from this album and when you go through the directory of A to Z or the alphanumerical English directory, many other uh, albums, bands from this time period playing a similar vein, yes. Like and subscribe and follow me on social media and leave a comment if there are any observations you have about the two tracks we just heard, the layers, the instrumentation, the counterpoint, the rhythmic structures, the jamming, the vocals, the belting, the who had the best solo, yeah. And until next time, this is Zaragon, the world's most ear-traveled trimaximalist, signing off.